You mentioned that your organization has the CTO office's support when it comes to, relying and leveraging open source and building guidelines to get involved. Um, were you part of the group of people who worked with the CTO office to achieve this stage?
Not really. The guidelines were there, but it keeps evolving because um, we are new to the game within Swisscom, especially within the telco side. So we just keep evolving and learning as we go on that. Yeah.
Can you share a little more about what is in the guidelines for people to kind of imagine like what you have in place to help everyone being on the same page about how to approach open source?
Yeah, I think it's different aspects like what sort of licensing you use, and how the contributions are made. So, for an example, if it's part of a CNCF, then how do you engage with that, right? Um, uh, and it could be even contributing to an existing project. So then you need to have this license agreement, and you also need to have certain memberships, etc. And the other part is one is contributing to the code. The other one is if you want to contribute your code repository. So how do you handle that? So it takes in different phases, I think. And yeah, and there's also these FOSS guidelines available online. I need to check if it's available open source. I think different projects or different organizations publishes this. And yeah, that's one way of having a start, I would say. Yeah.
In your experience, does having these guidelines help um, people sort of being on the same page within the entire company, or does it still feel like that people in some organizations within the company have more knowledge and understanding about open source versus others?
Yeah, I think having these guidelines help us to have meet the compliance standards and such. Um, but that does not mean that open source is widely accepted within the company. There are some departments where people are more skeptical on this, right? Because people are asking, "Hey, do you really need to put this effort into this? And is the time spent on such things is it worth you doing it?" Um, so this is typical when you're trying to shift an organization's culture, and the key is the education. So showing teams and the people the benefit of open source. Um, how does the innovation bring cost savings to collaboration, and making sure we have right support in place. Yeah, and also for any telco that wants to get into this, right? So for us, it has been helpful for us to innovate faster. We also reduce the vendor lock-in. As I mentioned, the some of the tools that we use from the CNCF, it's non-telco specific applications or tooling. So we don't rely on vendor on these use cases, and also it also helps us to collaborate with the wider tech community. So there's a lot of knowledge base within the tech community and etc. Yeah.
Have you or do you know anyone who's done any kind of cost calculations or calculations on savings? So kind of putting it into numbers, what you were mentioning about some of the benefits of relying on open source.
We don't have that exactly, and I can't think of any at the moment. I'm pretty sure they have done something. Um, we have some internal like internally we have some metrics like like it takes X amount of time to do it with such tools, but it took us like less time to do it using such tools, etc. But it's more from a tool point of view, not on like open sourcing, etc. But to add to this, right? One of the drivers of open sourcing this netbox operator that I mentioned. So netbox itself, it's one of the tools within, I believe it's within CNCF. It's a IPAM solution, so it provides this IP management aspects, the VLAN, etc. At the same time, it also has infrastructure inventory capability. For us, the use case was only the IP management. So how do we manage IP addresses and the subnets or the prefixes within the Kubernetes layer? So we open source it, and now we expect the community to take this and then also implement the other features. So that aspect is there. So you have like a wider community contributing to the code. Yeah, so that's something that we look forward to.